Hey everybody, it's Beaver again with the much anticipated part two of my serial killer story. So I'm going to jump right into it. I think I'm going to need part three when I'm going through my notes of everything that went on with this guy, but I'll try to get through most of it right here. Hope not leave you on a cliffhanger. But as we left last time, he wanted to move in earlier. I couldn't do it, and that was when I got the first taste of the crazy devil man that's inside of him, where he was yelling at me. Um, so basically, that was a Wednesday, and Friday I went out to lunch in the middle of the day, obviously, and I came back and there's a police officer waiting for me, which is always fun. Wasn't about him, but it seems one of my old tenants, one of my current tenants, who's been living here for a while. I guess one of her family members, maybe her son or daughter, or somebody, I guess, is a pretty big player in the Detroit stolen car ring. And they wanted to get some more information and go over addresses and stuff, and said that they'd be serving a search warrant on her apartment in that following week, and they wanted to know if we'd be kind enough to give them access so they don't have to bust our doors down and break them, which of course I would have no problem doing that. In the middle of this discussion, a serial killer walks into my office. What the hell? I tell him that this is important, and then that he needs to leave the office. It's a private discussion. I'm sorry. You can come back at another time. The cop tells him and says, you can come back in 10 minutes. And I'm like, wait. I have my lunch in front of me. I gotta eat. What do you need? What are you here for? Because if it's something I can do right away, that's fine. If not, you're gonna have to come back in an hour because I'll be on my lunch hour. He told me that he heard that the 7th, the day he's now moving in, was going to be really hot and humid. He wanted to know if he would turn the AC on in his apartment a day before. I said, sure, that won't be a problem. So thanks. And he's like, okay, I'll be back in 10 minutes because you need to show me how a thermostat works. Really? You don't know how to use, you're 60 years old and you don't know how to use a thermostat? Okay, whatever. See you then. So the cop leaves, and he comes back in about 15 minutes. Got through half my lunch. And I asked him again, do you really need me to walk out to the apartment with him and show him how to work the thermostat? He says, yes, he has no idea you use one. So we walk over. As we're walking, him behind me as always, he tells me that he's really sorry for bugging me, but that the main reason he's there is he really wanted to see me before I left for my vacation. He was really bummed I wasn't going to be there when he moved in, and he would have to wait for me to come, you know, to come back from vacation and all this stuff. And I'm like, all right, so you're not a killer, you're maybe just gay, but if you are a killer, that means you're probably going to rape me before you kill me. Awesome. So anyway, we get to the apartment, and I show him how the thermostat works, explain it all to him. And then I say, I need to go back and finish my lunch before it gets any colder. He said that was okay, and he's glad he caught me. He was really glad that, he could see how it worked, and that he got to see me, and we're outside by his car, and I'm like, alright, I'm going to go. And I said, my coworkers are here, they work here, they've worked here longer than I do. You can call them, they will help you out, they'll have the answers. They're more than capable of taking care of you. And he's like, yeah, no, I'm just going to wait till you get back. I only want to deal with you while I live here. And he held out his hand, and I shook it, and he's like doing the thing where you shake, and then he takes his other hand and he rests it lightly on your forearm. It's just really creeping me out. And I just remember walking into the office going, I really need to win about $25,000. I think that's enough where I feel comfortable quitting without ever walking back into this office. So I need to buckle down and win big in Vegas. So on Monday was the day I left for Vegas. I am sitting in the airport waiting to board, and I so dedicated to my job that I have it set up so that if somebody leaves a message, I get a translation of that message from work. I get it through a text message. So I get one, and it's from him, and it's saying that he came in on I guess Saturday the 4th and put stuff in his storage unit, which he wasn't supposed to do. And he came back today to put some more stuff in it so they'd be ready to move tomorrow. And everything was stolen, which is really weird. Didn't make sense to me, but I figured I don't care. I'm about to board a plane for Vegas. I'm going to, this is a much needed vacation with my friends. Whatever, they'll take care of it. That's why they're there. They're employees there. They know how to handle things. They'll take care of it. So I head on off, thinking, at least I don't have to deal with it. I go to Vegas. That's a whole nother story in and of itself. I come back Monday the 13th, Tuesday at 6:30. He walks in my door. Hey, Steve, good to see you back. I missed you. So how was your trip to Vegas? It was Vegas, wasn't it? I'm like, yeah, it was Vegas. It was fun, thanks. Where did you stay? I stayed in Vegas. Oh, well, I know that, but I was just wondering if you could give me more details. I'm like, yeah, no, it's not really that important, sorry. So what can I do for you today? And he goes on some big long discussion about how he's lived in Vegas and his mom and sister live in Vegas and he hasn't been there in like 15 years and he's sure the city center is probably much different. And he just was really curious about it. I said, yeah, that's great. What can I do for you? And so he starts talking about the theft. And I tell him, in all honesty, we've not had any apartment break-ins in 7 years that I've worked here. The last crime committed on the property that I even knew about or have any recollection of happened 2 years ago. When 3 guys were caught stealing rims off Ford Fusions in the middle of the afternoon on a sunshiny day. I apologized to him. I said, I'm sorry this happened. It's very unfortunate, but that's all I can do. And I said, is there anything else you need? And he's like, well, I think it was an inside job, and I want to know, or maybe it was your maintenance man who stole it. And I said, I talked to Tom when I came back on vacation. I asked him about it. I asked him if maybe he cleaned out, he was cleaning out your storage for you for the 7th, and didn't realize that you'd already been putting your stuff down there, and he put it somewhere else. He says he cleaned out your storage 2 weeks ago, and that's not it, and he doesn't have any idea what happened. So, it wasn't him, it wasn't me. I was in Vegas, and it wasn't, my coworker who's like 80 years old. She didn't go steal it. He's like, well, then I bet it was somebody in my apartment building. I said, you got 7 other tenants in that building. I don't think any of them are thieves, and you're like the youngest one by like 10, 15 years, and he's like 60 himself. And so he goes, well, then it must have been the previous tenant. I'm like, I'm pretty sure it wasn't the previous tenant. He's like, you can't be sure. You don't know if he had extra keys. I go, you're right. I don't know if he had any extra keys made, but I am 100% positive that the man that lived in your apartment before you he didn't steal your stuff. He's like, how can you be so sure? You don't know that. I said, dude, he's dead. He died. He's like, oh. And I go, and he was a priest. So I don't think it was a dead priest that went down in your storage unit and stole your stuff. So then he brings up the insurance. He's like, well, my insurance is only going to cover $50 of this, so you're going to have to cover the other they're only going to cover $500 of it. It was $1,000 worth of property stolen, so you're going to have to cover $500. I said, we're not covering anything. Go, that is not our responsibility. You need to call the police, and you need go to your insurance company. If you don't have the proper amount of insurance to cover your property, that is not our problem. And he's like, no, you had to do that. And I'm like, no, it's not. I go, did you have it locked up? He's like, well, it's a new lock. I don't know if I locked it securely. I'm like, well, did they break into the lock? He goes, the lock was stolen with it too. I'm like, so there's no proof that you even locked it. So I'm sorry, we're not going to do anything for you. So he got up and he's like, fine, fine. Well, then you need to show me how to do the thermostat again. And I'm like, really? He's like, yeah, come on over. I'm like, no, hold on. I grab an index card and I draw the thermostat. I write detailed notes and I say, that's it. That's your thermostat. If you need anything else having to do with anything in your apartment you don't need to understand, that is Tom's job. I rent apartments. He takes care of apartments. So you need to go to him. And I guess that's where I'll end it for right now. I'm going to do the next one right away, so hopefully we'll have them both up today. Alright, take care. Bye.